Good evening, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Council of the City of Long Beach, held Wednesday, November 3rd, 2021 at 7 p.m. We have a roll call. Councilmember Delury?
Here.
Councilmember Mandel?
Present.
Councilmember Treston?
Here.
Vice President McGinnis?
Here.
President Bendo?
Present.
Let the record indicate the presence of City Manager Donna Gaden and Corporation Counsel Richard Berrios. We'll now have a salute to the flag.
I'm going to ask Tommy Canner to lead us. All right, why don't we start with the city manager's report?
Good evening, everyone. My reports will be quick. First, I want to say congratulations to the new members that have been elected to the council, to the city council. Myself, as well as the staff, look forward to working with you all, the new and the incumbents. Commissioner Walsh is our first quick speaker.
Good evening, everybody. Before I start this week's report, I made a mistake in last week's report that I feel kind of bad about. My national night out would not have been anywhere near the success that it was if it was not for all of the volunteerism and time that Miss Jackie Odom and her entire cooking crew put in. All of that delicious food, she spent 2 weeks preparing all of that food, and all the ladies that work with her, and I practically begged her to give me the names, but she refused to give me the names of all the women that helped her. So our hats are off to them, and I wanted to just make sure that I made an official thank you to everybody for that. So if you're in the room, thank you. The only thing I'd like to report on today is the city has been experiencing, actually the country has been experiencing, an uptick in substance abuse and narcotics issues. And part of the problem that we're having here in New York especially is that, my phone is ringing, is that the decriminalization of drugs whilst trying to serve one purpose has turned into a much less focus on drug enforcement across New York State and the rest of the country. As many people know, in Nassau County, if you're arrested for drug use or if you have drugs on you, you're offered diversion and the opportunity to get treated. And while that could be a positive thing for the individual, it lowers the interest, if you will, on the part of district attorneys and funding and opportunities to actually make a difference and go out and make arrests for drugs and drug dealers. And the dynamics of drug dealing has also changed quite a bit, as it's not as much on the street where it's more like by appointment, it's all on the cell phones and things like that. So what we decided to do after some of the most recent issues that we have is we're going to have a meeting in the Channel Park houses on November 18th. And in this meeting, it's going to be, I think we're calling it an overdose prevention and response event on November 18th in the Channel Park houses. They have a community room. And we're going to be bringing in Long Beach Reach. They're going to be providing a drug counselor and social worker to come in and do some presentations on the prevention side and recognition side. Long Beach Aware is going to be there and going to be doing some preventing, as will the Central Nassau Guidance and Counseling Services is going to be there, as well as the police department. I've spoken to Mike Cruz at the Housing Authority. Every single apartment in Channel Park will get a flyer put in there. The city manager's office is helping out with John McNally and them going to help promote the event, as well as Monique Powell from Community Development is going to be helping us with some light refreshments as well as our Long Beach event staff putting together a flyer. And what we're really hoping to do is start the conversation here in Long Beach to prevent people from overdosing on drugs. Ms. Kate Torme, at the end of this event, will be giving a training as well in Narcan. So anybody who attends the event can get trained in Narcan, leave with dosage of Narcan, so that if, God forbid, someone in their family or they see somebody ODing, they have a chance at survival. Because whether we can't arrest ourselves out of this problem, but hopefully we can save some lives and we can make a difference in Long Beach by starting this. And the plan for the police department is to push this also into the West End. We're going to be talking with the West End School in the school district to see if we can hold an event there, as well as in the East End. So we'd like to cover the entire city that way, and then as needed, and as we see things, start to do more and more of these events to create more awareness. So if there's any questions from the council or the public, I'll be more than happy to entertain those. That's the end of my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And our last speaker is Commissioner Fabrizio.
Yes, the city manager just asked me to discuss an unfortunate incident that happened at Reverend J.J. Evans Park. We had approximately $6,000 in community development funding that we had to use or lose. So we thought it would be best to buy equipment for the park. Unfortunately, you get what you pay for, and we bought equipment and we had it installed, and it was really substandard and inferior. And within 2 to 3 weeks, it began to, the slide broke. I think there was a seesaw that broke. And me personally, I didn't feel comfortable with leaving it there. I just think it was equipment that is just not sufficient for a public playground that's heavily utilized. So we removed it today. Beach Maintenance Department went down there. We are going to try to use it at another location. It's probably more suited for, very small young children. It's just not going to hold up to a public park, the use. So anyway, so we removed it, and we will be ordering something different for the park. But I just want to let everybody know that we thought it was a safety issue, and we took it down. Okay. Any questions?
Can that be utilized over at the rec center with the daycare center?
Right now, we're evaluating
Okay.
potential locations for it.
Thank you.
It's a possibility. Okay.
Commissioner, do you know a time frame of replacement? It's being that we're coming into the winter now. Does that preclude any replacement of those?
Right now, one of the things that you have to put down when you put down playground equipment is the safety surfacing. It's the rubberized surface that goes underneath the playground equipment, and you can't put that down in cold weather.
Okay.
It really should be like 40 degrees and rising. So ideally, you don't want to do a project of this nature until the spring.
Spring,
So
like
you're going into the better weather.
Right, thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm sorry,
Thank
just
you.
a quick question. Was there any warranty on the equipment?
I'll have to check on that. That was purchased through community development. I'll have to check with Monique on that.
But just so you know, Monique has called the company and let them know that they have sold us substandard equipment and what they're going to do about it.
Yeah, the company was, the manufacturer was BYO Furnishings. That's who we purchased it from.
All right, that concludes my report.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I think Councilwoman Treston has some updated information about the Loop Parkway
Right.
Bridge.
So, Councilwoman, Assemblywoman Miller, Denise Ford, myself, and Senator Kaminsky, as well as the Director of EMS from the town of Hempstead, have been in touch with the Department of, can you hear me? Have been in touch with the Department of Transportation regarding the Loop Parkway. There were a number of times when, as many of you know, when the bridge was stuck in the up position. So we've requested a replacement of the existing bridge. And we received a letter back, and I just wanted to let everyone know that the New York State DOT is working on 2 additional projects that will enhance the overall safety and improve the reliability of the bridge. One is going to start in late 2021, early 2022, and it's going to replace that grid deck as well as make minor structural repairs in the year 2022-2023. If anyone has any questions, please email me or give me a call, etreston@longbeachny.gov. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And let's move on to the agenda.
Okay. Item 2 has been taken off the calendar. Item 1 is approval of minutes of prior meetings of October 5th and October 19th, 2021. Do I have a motion to approve?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory,
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel,
Yes.
Councilmember Treston,
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis,
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 2 has been taken off the calendar. Item 3 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement for engineering services in conjunction with the transit-oriented development project.
And that is Commissioner Fabrizio.
Good evening again. This resolution authorizes the city to enter into an agreement with NV5 for engineering services for the transit-oriented development project. On Friday, June 25th, 2021, we received 3 proposals for the project. We had a 6-member committee evaluate the proposals. Just to note, during the evaluation, cost is not factored in to the process, and I'm going to get to that later why I'm saying that. The cost proposal is provided in a separate sealed envelope. After all our committee members grade the proposals, the results are summarized, and we need to open the cost proposals. In this case, NV5 received the highest grade of a 94, and it was the highest rated proposal, and the cost was $108,000. The other 2 proposals that we received, one was submitted by L.K. McLean Associates in the amount of $143,918, and the other was WSP at $100,988. So they were actually the lowest proposal. In this case, they got a 93 actually, so it was very close in our scoring. The scope of the project is to enhance walkability, safety, accessibility, and beautification around the Long Island Railroad Station, the city parking garage, City Hall, and Reverend J.J. Evans Boulevard. Included in the project is going to be new and repainted crosswalks, new curb cuts, bike racks, traffic calming, signage, streetscape improvements. Funding is going to be 100% derived from the Community Development Block Grant Program. There's $370,000 available total. $108,000 is going towards the consultant. The balance, which is about $262,000, is going to be for construction. We suggest it's going to be about a 6-month period for the design, so we'll anticipate commencing construction in about May of 2023 or June. So therefore, I recommend moving forward with NV5. And just to note also, they were the consultant that designed Edwards Boulevard, south of Park, and I've had very good experiences with them. I think, Patty, you would agree, right? They're very good. So I recommend awarding it to them. Thank you. Any questions? 2022, I'm sorry. Did I say 23? 22. Sorry about that.
As part of the comprehensive plan development, would they be part of or organize public input sessions as well, or are they strictly doing the working on the document?
This is separate from the comprehensive plan. This is a more, this isn't the comprehensive management plan. This is a separate project to just enhance streetscaping, basically around City Hall, the garage, Long Island Railroad, Reverend J.J. Evans Boulevard. So it's separate from the comprehensive plan.
Sorry, I'm looking at item 2.
Oh, okay, that's okay.
Sorry.
No worries. Thank you.
Sorry. Roy Lester kept me out late last night.
That's okay.
I'm reading the wrong thing. My apologies. Never mind.
No problem. Any questions?
Okay, any questions from the public? Speak of the devil.
Congratulations, by the way.
3 minutes. Tommy, stop it. John, you asked a great question, though. Why isn't this part of the comprehensive plan? I mean, it really seems like it would be something that should be part of the comprehensive plan.
It's going to be included, but it's a separate grant. And so we apply for a grant to do just what we stated. So it will be mentioned, but we have to use grant funds for what we applied them.
And we have to use this now? I just, the reason I'm asking is because from what I understand, they're doing a great job with the comprehensive plan. And, I'm kind of glad you pulled two, because I think the people that are working on the plan should have the opportunity to present it to the public first. And I know, I remember when Patty presented the last one, it was phenomenal. It was, it was a great presentation. And people really got a good look at what was proposed. And that's what I'm hoping happens, is that the public gets to look at it first before we start spending money.
The plan itself, it will be a document, and that the consultants will go out and talk to the public, and then they will present. This is a grant. So
Right.
this is not something that the public can weigh in on, except we will explain it to the public, because this is what we applied for. So it will be included in the plan, but yes, the plan will go before the public.
Yeah.
One doesn't have anything to do with the other.
I just, in my mind, it seems that a comprehensive plan would include all of that, but whatever. But the other question is, we are taking out of the community grant $120,000. We're allocating $120,000 for this, but we're only spending $108,000. How come we do the $120,000?
Go ahead, Ina.
Congratulations. And it's a separate grant. It's not, it comes through the CDBG, route, but it's a separate funding.
No, I know, but under the CDBG, it's $20,000 you're taking out. And this is only $108,000. Yeah, page 10. I mean, item 10.
Item 10.
We're going to be, there's going to be an
I'm sorry,
amendment.
Roy, what was the question about?
Oh, that's a separate,
That's a separate-
so this
Wait.
item 10 pertains to the CDBG grant proper. And we're spending $120,000 of CDBG proper. Yes.
The grant that we're talking about right now is the TOD grant. The grant that's in item 10 is another grant. It's two different grants.
But they're both going to the same thing, transit-oriented development.
It's two different grants where we applied for different items for both grants. We're not repeating, it's for different items for both grants.
But they're both transit-oriented.
Yes, it's 120
Yes,
plus
you can have
108.
grants that are called, yeah, you can have, just like CDBG, Community Development Block Grant, you can have several categories within the CDBG where you apply for money.
It just threw me off because they both are transit-oriented development
Yes.
programs.
Yes.
All right, but they're two different ones.
Yes.
Two different grants, yes.
And later on, can you explain the difference on item 10?
I'm sorry?
When we get to item 10, can you
Pat-
explain the difference?
Roy, Patty's
between
right
these two?
behind you. She can,
Oh,
congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's two different grants. I know it could sound confusing. Initially, we applied for a special grant, which we received from the county of $150,000. And then working with the city and Monique, we have used some CDBG funds to augment that money, because our total budget that Joe mentioned is $370,000. So $108,000 is for the engineers to design and oversee the project, and then the rest of the money would be used for the actual construction.
Oh, okay, so it's one project.
Yes, with
Okay,
different
thanks.
phases. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I didn't understand.
And the other question you asked, Roy, was about getting it done now. Some of these funds have to be used up in the next 14 months, or we lose the funds, so that's why we're moving.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the public? All right, seeing none, let's move on to item 4.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase vehicles for the city's sanitation department through New York State Office of General Services from the lowest responsible bidder.
This would be Ina and Devin.
So there. Good evening. So this item pertains to the lease purchase that the city is planning to undertake in the next couple of months. Devin will talk a little bit more about why and the need. They convinced us during the budgeting process that it's absolutely imperative to bring new vehicles into the sanitation fleet. And there is $180,000 budgeted there for the lease of this equipment. And we had worked with the vendors that are on the state contracts and are reachable. And the quotes in this resolution, they come from those vendors that have state contracts. And in terms of the financing, once this is approved, I will work with the new banks that the city is working with to get the best available financing for the city.
Ina, you mentioned 180,000 was budgeted?
Mm-hmm.
And we're using, it looks like we're anticipating 123,000 roughly?
I'm not sure. It depends on what the financing will look like.
But this was something anticipated that was needed in this budget.
Hold on.
I'm sorry, Mike, what was your question?
It's basically, we anticipated the need to replace these vehicles
Yes.
in this 2021, 2022 budget.
Yes.
I just wanted to make it known that this is something that's not coming up unexpected.
I think there's a broader issue here. This item 4 is also actually related to item 5. Okay? So the first, on item 4, you're requesting 3 vehicles for $120,000.
Yeah.
But you're not, and the budget is $180,000. Yeah, I looked it up before I came.
Yeah, that's accurate, but that's not, we're not purchasing them outright. We are leasing them.
Exactly. So could you explain to everyone how you are going to recognize the cost? You're not going to recognize the 120 this year against the 180. You're going to recognize what amount?
So again, once we enter into agreement with the financing institution, we have, like for the mortgage, you have your mortgage amortization. There would be, let's say, 5 or 7 years, whatever the lease agreement would state, payment schedule. And based on that payment schedule, we would pay same amount on a monthly basis, and amount will be allocated between the principal and interest. It's basically financing. So how we would recognize it, we would recognize it by moving money from the sanitation into the debt service fund. And in a debt service fund, we would recognize the payments on the principal and on the interest of the equipment, of the lease.
So
it's a bit of a complicated, from accounting standpoint, transaction.
Right, so 120 isn't going to disappear from this fund
No.
for these 3 cars, because we're going to be adding 4 more vehicles in the next item.
Yeah.
And then you also have the asset under the capital when you receive the vehicles.
Yes.
You,
On a government-wide financial statements, we would recognize the value of the asset and as a liability, the principal payable on the
and I
lease.
do understand it is complicated because it's a lease finance agreement that, but
If
I
we had a
just,
whiteboard, I could have like written it up, the journal entries.
I just wanted to bring it up that it was not unanticipated, unexpected. The only thing that's not anticipated is that we don't know when we'll receive the vehicles, and we don't know the financing terms at this time, correct?
Absolutely right. The only unanticipated part of it is that we don't know the supply chain issues.
Correct. Thank you. Thank you, Ina.
Sure.
All right, any more questions from the council? Any questions from the public? All right, seeing none, let's move on to item 5.
Item 5 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase vehicles for the city under an Onondaga County contract.
Ina? 5.
Okay, so basically it's the same story, only different vehicles. Why don't you talk about the vehicles that we're getting and why you need them?
Right. That's perfect.
I've been waiting to speak, so. We have 4 vehicles we'll be replacing. They are 17 to 18 years old. They have reached their life expectancy, so, I mean, it speaks for itself. The vehicles we'll replace are 2 25-yard packers, rear loaders, and 2 32-yard packers, and we'll purchase 2 25-yard packers and replace 2 32-yard packers. So we're just filling in where we're getting rid of, just making everything new. 2 years ago, we replaced the 6 vehicles. So this is just carrying on from 2 years ago. So we can have a new fleet. We don't have to go back to these issues. And for the next 5, 6 years, we'll be good. So the pickup trucks, same condition.
Right.
Prior to Sandy, it's just time to start over, start fresh, have new vehicles.
Just so everybody knows, could you tell us, state your name so we know?
I'm Devin Parker, Superintendent of Long Beach Sanitation.
Thank you, Devin. That's why I figured let everybody know who's speaking, and
Yeah.
and I'm sure they appreciate it. And there's a question for you, but I don't know if it's really in your area. What happens with the vehicles that are putting out of service? Like they're old, they're beat up, they're...
I mean, most of the time they go out for auction. They're sold for, I'm not sure of the cost that they go
Right.
for. They're still in running condition, but they're just old. So
Right.
someone will purchase them, probably somewhere down south, so,
For salvage, and
Yeah.
you'll do it that
Yep.
way.
exactly.
Okay. I don't have any further questions.
Yeah. There's a lot of issues with repairs, so going new with the lease, everything's covered, warranted for 100,000 miles, saves money on parts, things like that. Serious issues, it goes back to the manufacturer and they fix it for free, so that's a good bonus. With the last 6 trucks we got in 2019, they've been holding up really well. Issues have been great. If they're serious issues, we send it back, they fix it for free, comes back to us. So it's been really good, so. this is
You're
what like-
educating me, and I'm sure you're educating everybody else about the whole process of,
Yeah.
you know, what happens on a day-to-day basis, you know. Thank you. That's all I
All right.
have.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions from the council?
You already said the public.
All right. What's that?
You said the public.
Did I? Okay. Let's move on to item 6.
Well, you didn't ask about
Oh, I thought you did.
Oh, you see? You see? That was on
me.
her.
I thought he said for the public, sorry. Huh? What'd you say, Roy?
I knew you wouldn't do that.
See,
I
she
said,
steered me
Roy,
wrong.
That was me.
She said I already said it, and I
Yeah,
was like,
I was thinking of the other item.
Well, you put this thing as far away from me as you can, don't you?
We should get a seat over there.
Mike, really good point about the, you know, the decent plan, but
Well,
Is this working? But
I try
do
to
we-
anticipate some questions you may bring
You'll
up.
never do it. Do we have a schedule for these replacements? Because I've noticed this with the police vehicles and stuff like that. And I know they're old, but do we actually have a schedule that people could see?
We're starting to create a schedule
Okay.
of all of the old vehicles. And actually, I would say over 90% of the city's fleet needs to be replaced. And so we are gathering all of the information, all of the information right now, and trying to figure out how often we can start replacing vehicles.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, how many miles does a garbage truck do a year? Because I know they go. It's what?
Hours.
But isn't it warranted by miles? But do we have a warranty on engine hours or just on miles?
On the engine.
It's what? So it's strictly miles, no matter how many? Yeah. But we don't know. All right. Whatever.
That's something that we can find out, but just so you know, we don't make any purchases unless we have a warranty.
Oh, I know, and I was listening about the playground equipment, and thank goodness we have a warranty on that. And the other thing is, and Karen, you brought this up, this money, the 180 is going to be used to pay the leases.
Correct.
Yes.
But we don't know if it's a 5-year or 7-year, that's all. We got to see what we can get, correct?
Yes.
So, I figure if it's a 7-year, it'll be about 140,000, and then that money just stays there.
Yeah.
Or do we
It's,
pay down?
It's 240,000 at 4 years, 192,000 at 5 years, and 160,000 at 6 years for all the vehicles in 4 and 5.
Well,
if you-
Ina said possibly 7.
Well, possibly 7. So I basically just extrapolated it out to make sure that the 180 for this year would cover the full amount of the
Can we
lease.
use the balance of the 180, if we go 7, to pay down principal?
Basically, that would require us a resolution so that we could transfer the money on the council, yes.
Okay, thanks.
I think, Mr. Lester, and Devin or anybody, correct me if I'm wrong. In the past, the transportation of sanitation went to, I believe, Westbury. I think now it's going to Inwood. Therefore, the mileage, you're getting more miles, or it's requiring less miles now to go and back and forth to Inwood than it was previously in previous years. That's correct, right? Okay.
I
So,
was just curious about the warranty, how long that would cover us.
but you asked about mileage and you asked about hours, and I just wanted to point out that there was decisions made in the past
Yes.
that was discussed how beneficial it could be to lengthen the lifespan of a vehicle. Just, I thought, so I was right. Thank you.
All right, any other questions from the public? All right, on to item 6.
Item 6 is a resolution authorizing settlement of certiorari proceedings.
That's great.
Hi, good evening. This is a proposed tax certiorari settlement for the Whitbread's Lumberyard at 600 Magnolia Boulevard. It settles 8 years from 2014 through 2021, and there's a 3-year moratorium. If it to be approved, it would involve $36,400 in a cash settlement with a assessment reduction of 38% from $56,500 to $35,000. Myself and Jenna Pettis from my office did a walkthrough of the property. It's pretty much been the same since the 30s. Nothing's been improved. It's in pretty bad shape. It is industrial property, so when you value the property, it's using comparable rentals from the region and coming up with a value. In the negotiations, we came up with a market value of $1,070,000 for this current year. The settlement, there would be no interest payments involved in it. would save the city the cost of an appraisal consultant and a legal consultant if we were to go to a trial. And the opposing counsel submitted an appraisal for much less than the value that we settled. Pretty much covers it. Any questions?
All right, any questions from the council members? Hearing none. Any from the public? All right, thank
Yep,
you, Ray.
thank you.
Let's move on to item 7.
Item 7.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Item 7 is a resolution authorizing transfer of funds for the 21-22 fiscal year.
That's mine. I'm speeding it up.
Good evening again. So the police department was working on trying to get grant money for the Shot Spotter program, and I also wanted to work on the coverage area and improvements. So we were able to negotiate a lower price for this. It wasn't included in our original budget because we were supposed to get granting for it, but the granting fell through. So what we did in the budget was we were trying to go up one additional special for the year. We decided to forego that for this year, use a portion of the salary to pay for this Shot Spotter contract, and the remaining money will be used for other budgetary needs. We're looking to increase our detective division by 2 members as well, and then we'll still, with all of that being done, have about $2,000 or $3,000 left over, someplace in that range, to cover other expenses that might come up in the budget line. Are there any questions?
Okay, any questions from the council members? Hearing none. Any from the public? Okay, thank you. Let's move on to item 8.
Item 8 is a resolution authorizing budget amendment to the general fund budget.
It's not on.
Hello? Yeah. Okay, so in fiscal year 2022 budget, one of the revenue items is the appropriation of the fund balance. So basically, we said we know that we're going to have some fund balance at the end of fiscal 2021. We're going to use it in fiscal 2022 instead of raising property taxes and other fees. So that assumption was based on the fact that we were expecting 100% of ARPA funds to be received by 6/30/2021. It's about $3.4 million. Unfortunately, ARPA.
Ina,
Ina,
you're talking about 9.
You're talking about
Oh,
9.
I'm
We're
sorry.
on 8.
We're on 8.
Okay, I'm glad to know I'm not the only one doing it tonight.
8 is
I'm sorry.
the donation, the $300,000
Okay.
donation.
Okay. So this, I'm sorry, I apologize. This item pertains to the Carbona's donation of $300,000. So that donation was specific to the lifeguard department expenses. And in order to, for my office to reserve it appropriately, we need to have a governing body formal reservation. So out of $300,000, $150,000 department is planning to use this year. We will increase our operating revenues by $150,000, operating budgeted revenues and operating budgeted expenses in the lifeguards department by $150,000. And our governing body needs to reserve the remaining $150,000, so it will remain for the use of the lifeguards.
Okay, any questions from the council? Hearing none. Any from the public? All right, thank you. Now, on to item 9. You may as well stay there.
Item 9 is also a resolution authorizing budget amendments to the general fund budget.
Okay, so I do not recall at what point I went back to item 8. I just going to go briefly over the whole concept. We anticipated 100% of the American Rescue Plan money to be received by June 30th, 2021. This money would go into the fund balance of fiscal 2021 and should have been used in operations in this fiscal year. What happened when we received 50% of that revenue? By 6/30/2021, the remaining 50% will be received either in May or June of 2022. So we need to memorialize that through the resolution that the use of the fund balance is going to be reduced, and the $1.7 million will actually come as a federal revenue. This will allow us to have a lower reservation when we prepare financial statements and have a better standing with the rating agencies. And it will correctly, obviously, demonstrate what really happened.
I don't have a specific question on this particular transaction, but it does lead me to the point that I have not seen a cash flow forecast. And that is something that is critical for the council to have. And historically, things happen in the beginning of the calendar year, and I have no visibility into that right now. So I'm on the record asking for a cash flow forecast.
Sure.
Thank you.
We'll provide it.
Okay, any other questions from the council? All right, hearing none. Any from the public? Okay. Mr. Lester. Sit on the other side.
Sit on that side.
Getting your steps in.
I'm just not sure. Was this the money that that's going to help pay for O'Leary or O'Malley or whatever, the consultants and 3M?
No, the money for the restructuring is from FRB.
FRB, okay.
Yes.
I get my initials confused.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All we've gotten so far is 300 of that? 300,000?
Of FRB?
Yeah. No? We got more?
Hi. So we received money from the FRB for prior projects. As it pertains to restructuring, we have not received anything yet.
And they're not pressuring us, right?
No, not at this time.
Good.
Okay, any other questions from the public? All right, seeing none, item 10.
Item 10 is a resolution authorizing annual allocation of community development funds for the 47th program year. And I believe we have an amendment to this item?
Yep, I'm going to
Yeah.
propose an amendment to it. The administration salaries line should be changed from $45,000 to $39,600. And the adult preventative services line should be changed from $20,000 to $10,000.
Do I have a second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
The second change was from 20,000 to 10,000,
Yes,
and it's on the last line, adult preventive services. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Second, or,
No, that was...
It's yes or no?
Yes or no?
yes.
Okay. Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
yes.
Motion carries.
All right.
Oh. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Monique.
No, go ahead. We just amended it
Oh, okay.
so the numbers work.
Oh, okay, I thought I was done. A little scared of heights up there. Would you like me to explain? Is there anything I can go over, or we should public announce any type of comments?
Well,
or
you
questions?
could just explain what we're doing.
Great. I mean, I am very excited. This is the first CDBG grant that we have applied that is completely aligned with our operational budget, with our staffing model. Every department is kind of aligned to the expectations of it. And what you see here is now we have created youth and families department over in Magnolia's second floor to represent exactly what the budget says: youth services, senior services, and adult services. Previously, we had contracts that could be about 2 or 3 pages, and the problem of that is that they were detailed, but it wasn't aligned to the processes. Thanks to meeting with Ina, we were able to align fiscal, staffing models, identifying, so it's like the people, places, and things. So the place that we have now is that Magnolia's second floor. That's where the services will be provided in addition to in the community, but we actually have a location. We welcomed the Nassau County Office of Community Development, where the director, Kevin McCreen, we were honored to have him in the building, as well as Teresa Dukes and Donald Crosley. And it was very important to have them here because they haven't been in a while, but they now understood our new framework, and they wanted to see it, and they wanted to talk. Because if we had to talk about a balanced scorecard of how we use CDBG funds, we have had expired contracts with expired funds that we were not able to use. We were outsourcing a lot of these services. And when you outsource, you have organizations that are not aligned with our process as far as resolution, procedures, and budgeting. That extended the time. Services wasn't met, it wasn't aligned, and it wasn't transparency. As far as what is CDBG, who is eligible, how funds should be dispersed. And when it's not clear, there's a lot of misconception that this is free money and grant money, and it is not. What the city is doing is fronting the money or putting the money up front for the expenses with the hope of all the documents, reporting, and outcomes done effectively so that Nassau County will then review it and give us the money back. And if you don't know, like I know, Ina wants the money to be there, aligned appropriately, as it should be, and that was the difficult part of explaining that. So you have your funders want to know exactly what you're doing. So we now have changed that where we only have the 3 sections when it comes to public service and giving funds out, which will be based on, like we said, the needs of the community. We can provide sub-recipient grants, we can give funding or contracts, but being that it's the city money that's going out looking to be reimbursed, we have to control how it's going out and in, and this reflects that. In addition to the services, we are putting a high concentration on the parks and playgrounds. As Joe Brown, Commissioner, has expressed, and Joe Fabrizio and Tom McCann also had talked about what our parks look like, and with the new norm of being outside, we thought that that was priority. In addition to still working with economic development and our TOD, which was a high priority for Nassau County Community Development, which is our transit-oriented development. So everybody is in line with our priorities, and it reflects with this for the first time.
Monique, could you just briefly talk about parks and playgrounds? It's citywide?
So in particular, that's a great question because it's not displayed on there. We looked into Magnolia Park. We looked into Sherman Brown Park, and to continue the Leroy Conyers Park in particular. And as you can see, it says parks and playgrounds. So previously we'll have specific addresses. So we no longer have to do that because the overall criteria of CDBG is area benefit, low moderate income benefit, and it's determined by the city now. So we are entrusting that we have the data, and I work with Nassau County, or we do, to determine if that area meets that benefit. So we no longer have to include that. So yes, those are the parks.
Right, and I just for the general public's knowledge and mine, I think when you apply for a grant, you're basically outlined in advance the needs in certain areas like location and description, and then like Commissioner Fabrizio said, you're applying for the grant, you may do the work up front, and in conformity with the grant application, the county will inspect, or whatever state government agencies, that you did it according to what you asked for, and then they give you the money.
Yes, and
Thank
we
you.
have history of that not being so we wanted to make sure that's so.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the council?
The one thing I want to say is that when I first came, we had several hundreds of thousands of dollars that had not been spent with CDBG. Monique has done an excellent job of getting that money spent, asking them for realignment. And what we did was we showed that we were transparent in our reporting. So to have them come out and to see that we are improving the way we do things and how we spend the dollars, this will allow us to apply and possibly receive more money than we have in the past. So thank you, Monique.
Thank you, Monique.
Okay, any final questions from the council? Hearing none. Any from the public? Please go to the mic.
Yeah, step up to the mic and also state your name, please.
Terrence Harris. The Sherman Brown Park, is that the one on Pine Street?
Yeah.
I would like to see that enclosed with some type of fencing where you don't see the recycling yard and the other stuff behind there. If you can get proper fencing where it looks very nice over there, other than just to see the Bay Area where it doesn't look too nice. Thank you.
I guess she's going to talk.
You don't have to stand up there, Monique.
Thank you for that. The good thing is that now we are moving forward with how we make decisions and how we determine eligibility and funds and expenses. So we're going to follow the same fashion that we did with the Leroy Conyers and other parks. So of course the city has internal meetings of priorities when I align the funds and the staffing, but we will now then go to the community where the community can collectively identify the needs, come together, and then have a meeting of the minds and determine the priority based on the fundings and the reporting that I have to do. So we look at as a whole of what's needed, and I encourage you to help me to mobilize the community to then use that to express thoroughly what's needed, because the Leroy Conyers is just part 2 of what's already has started. So the first Leroy Conyers, I believe, was in 2017 and 18. So all I did was pick up from that, but I aligned more fundings when I realized from meeting that additional funds were needed. The Sherman Brown came up is because I was walking to McDonald's getting a frappe, as I always do, and Brian Horn saw me and said, hey, you know, we need to update this park. And he had some ideas. However, I didn't formalize it to what's needed to be and say, okay, I had the opportunity to put it into as a park because it actually meets the eligibility. So it's not just picking out Leroy Conyers, it's because of the neighborhood, it meets the requirements for CDBG. And I told him that we would revisit it if I get it approved. So the funds were approved, it's in the 47th, and we will follow up with community meetings that I can only start, right, and welcome and create the platform, but it will be for the community to come in and voice their opinion in a great way to say this is what's needed, understanding that it's limited funds. And that's how we're moving forward with it. Thank you. And you can contact me or my office when that meeting is, if you don't hear about it. I'll stay here just in case.
All right. Any more questions from the public? Mr. Hodge.
James Hodge, 95 East Fulton Street, Long Beach, New York. Is any of this money going to go back into providing the security at the MLK Center? I know it provides the security at the ice arena and the recreation, and they bring in a couple million, and the North Park pulls in the majority of the CDBG funding if statistical data stands right. So can anybody answer that question?
Go ahead.
So CDBG funds can only be used based on the project description and lines that was approved by Nassau County. Security is a salary, and it's not part of the 47th year of what we're doing. So again, we're only using it on parks and playgrounds, senior services that align to the programming services to meet the needs of all seniors that are eligible in the community, with 51% of that being low moderate. I know you mentioned North Park. North Park is area eligible. So if any programs or activities go around North Park, that's how Sherman Brown Park was able to be eligible for funds. But there's actually nothing here for security. We want to move away from salaries and more onto developing the community as what the funds are set for. The city is now providing the staffing and the salaries, and there's a requirement when you're using salaries. So if you're using someone's salary or position, they have to provide services to 51% of that population. And I have identified staffing because we have a new staffing model. We have a youth specialist, we have a senior specialist, and adult specialist there at the city. And that has been approved by Nassau County Community Development. Security does not, it will be under public service, and we can't identify a public service or good that's being serviced by the use of security.
Okay, so they just changed the security, but they still have security at the ice arena and the rec. And so if the city is providing the staffing for that and the urgent need for security in the Martin Luther King Center, again, which provides the majority of the approval, gets a majority of the community development funding, I believe, and as we said we'll do a need assessment. I'm just one person, but many people believe that the MLK can utilize that extra service that Fran Adelson worked so hard to get with myself and others, to have someone at that front desk to help out and provide that extra security. Do community development, would they have been able to purchase the cameras at the MLK Center? It's fixed now because the MLK used that funding, and there's a lot of other things that need to be fixed there. So I don't know if, you know.
So James, anything that's outstanding that needs to be fixed with MLK?
Yes.
As we begin to negotiate the lease, we will identify what the city will and will not pay for, and with all the leasing payments. So those conversations will be picked back up within the next 30 to 60 days, and then we can put that in there. Also, you keep mentioning the ice arena. CDBG does not pay for security at the ice arena. And so what you're asking us is for CDBG to pay for security at the MLK, but she explained that it cannot, and it does not pay for the ice arena. So all of your concerns, you can have the executive director and the new chairman of MLK, when we decide to sit down and come together to discuss the lease, that we can then put all that information in there.
Well, they can do whatever they want, but I'm a concerned citizen first, even before I got on that board. So again, and I'm sorry, can I have
no,
this time?
What
Okay.
I'm saying to you, James, is I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
It will be discussed when we discuss
Okay,
the
so
lease.
I wanted to go on record that they need security, and the ice arena do have security. I've been working with the city 23 years. I've been here for 44 years. The orange shirts that go in and out and provide maybe for some tournaments and things, what's fair for one is fair for the other when that area pulls in a majority of CDBG funding. And also, so they do go over there, and maybe take a ride tomorrow. You'll see orange shirts maybe pop in, pop out. That's security for that whole establishment over there, the whole recreation complex. And so also, you know, I have a lot of questions, but I can't get them all because I don't know how much time I have left. But again, I don't know if some of that money's been designated to go to the MLK to help some of the programs there, because again, the North Park pulls in the majority of CDBG funding in the city of Long Beach. So did any of that 47-year money, which was transferred, and we had hundreds of thousands of dollars that wasn't spent, where the AC wasn't working and kids were hot and it was 90 degrees in the building, was any of that money designated to go there when we discovered all of this extra money and we was shifting and transferring funding when the children sat for 3 months hot? Some of the city council even came there with sweating. I thank God that they came and they supported the programs, but they even saw how hot it was. So did any money go to say we're going to fix and why, if it's your building, what we discuss what should be fixed? If it's your building, fix the building. The landlord don't say, I'm going to fix this and then you fix that door, and that shouldn't even be a part of the lease. These are children that are in a low-income, poor area,
and it should be that we're going to put money to take care of the low income and the poor families. And if we say seniors are over at the recreation, what happened to the seniors over at the MLK?
Mr. Hodge, your time has expired.
Okay, thank you. So what happened if we're expediting programs at the recreation, which I love and I care about, Nevada to Maple, from the Bay to the Ocean? What happened to the programs being expedited and working with them over there in the North Park area?
I'm sorry?
You got it.
No, you can let Monique, we just
Okay.
explained how we use our CDBG dollars, so go
You
ahead.
changed the way you use them, but I'm just saying.
We changed the way we use them according to the guidelines that we should have always been using them. So, James, if you would like to come in and talk to us.
You can go ahead, you wasn't using the
If you would like to come in and talk to us, we would greatly appreciate you coming in. We have had the discussion about the air conditioner several times. So I suggest that you make an appointment with Mr. Fabrizio, myself, Monique, and we can discuss. And also, please have your chairman of your board come in, of the board, and the executive director.
Well, I'm not
Yeah,
on the
oh, I'm
board
sorry. I'm
anymore.
sorry. Also to keep note that making any upgrades or improvements to buildings is what CDBG call public facilities and improvement. We've been doing that for a long time, which is some of the contracts that has been expired because of us being unable to identify the need and how it directly impacts the community at large. This 47-year budget, a couple of things that you mentioned, is that the application was done in January or February. There were no programs. So the goal of this was to create a budget to provide programs, because no one but the city at that time, due to COVID and other things, couldn't provide a program, including yourself, because of the reopening and the safety guidelines, right? So at that time, this grant was developed not to do buildings, because no one was in buildings, so not to upgrade or do anything. And the city and the Nassau County understood that, so we were thinking ahead, which that's why the money is available right now as of September 1st, of what will be needed for the community at large post-COVID with the new norm. And it was to provide services specifically towards that, outside with parks and playgrounds and with services that they will need. If you see that, we have never provided adult preventive services. And we will talk more about what those adult preventive services. You also talked about seniors. Seniors are also at the Magnolia second floor. There have been some programs that they have been in need based on completing a needs assessment. And there has been seniors that has been at the MLK that also come to the recreational. So there's a lot of things you said to unpack that I want to be clear, but you and I can go on forever and ever, but I'm trying to touch some of the things that you said. And security under CDBG is not a service. So let's just be clear about that.
All right, just to answer back, and I know my time is up. You did it over there. You said we wasn't thinking about funding and we didn't have it, but City Hall had 2 big air conditioner trucks out here. So if you can do air conditioning out here at City Hall, these are babies, these are children. You could have did it there. And if you do senior programs over there, it's a lot to unpack, but a lot of it got unpacked on this side and not on this side. Let's unpack a lot over there. And yes, me and Monique can talk a whole lot about CDBG funding, because when she first started doing things in Long Beach, I worked with her and helped to give her some of the information. So thank you. Again, let's unpack some over that way. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions from the public?
Good evening. I'm Kathy Williams from Channel Park Homes. I'm a long-term resident of the city of Long Beach. I agree with what Mr. Hodge has said. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. We have to do things right and fair in this city. That's the way it always has been, and we need to make a sincere attempt to keep up that tradition. There is something wrong. There is some fish in the house without ice. I don't know where it is, but you understand what I'm saying? Let's do what's right.
All right. Any other questions from the public? All right. Seeing none. Thank you, Monique. Let's move on.
No, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Let's move on to item 11.
Item 11 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to amend the current agreement for asphalt overlay work at various locations throughout the city on an as-needed basis.
This is a resolution also authorizing the city manager to amend the agreement with Roadwork Ahead. Roadwork Ahead was the city's successful bidder on the city's previous asphalt overlay contract at a price of $495,000. Because it's a requirements contract, it was awarded for less than the bid amount, which was $413,378.50 in 2018. It was basically awarded at the time for the funding that was available in the capital budget. In 3 years since it was originally awarded, there have been multiple resolutions authorizing the city manager to exceed the original resolution amount. This is the last and final for resolution for $41,534.50. This will officially close out Roadwork Ahead's contract. I also have the 3 resolutions. I researched them if you want me to go through them, how much they were for and what date they were. But this was common practice to get authorization from the council to exceed the original bid amount on a requirements contract based on available funding.
Okay. Any questions from the council? Just means we're paving more roads. That's good.
Yes.
Hearing none. Any from the public? Okay, thank you, Joe. On to item 12.
Item 12 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to apply for a grant from the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation for the construction of a new elevated water storage tank in the city.
Yes, this is a resolution authorizing the city to apply for and potentially accept a grant under the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation, Water Infrastructure Improvement Act, commonly called WIA, for the 1.25 million gallon elevated water storage tank. Grants under this program are due November 22nd, 2021. And this resolution is a prerequisite for filing the application. H2M is the contractor that the consultant we retained to prepare the grant on behalf of the city. The grant max is 60% of the project amount not to exceed $3 million. In this case, the estimated cost of the project is $9,240,540. We would therefore potentially receive $3 million through the program, leaving the city responsible for $6,240,540. This will be available once funds are borrowed pursuant to bond authorization 303519 on September 3rd, 2019, in the amount of $9 million. So, I try to make it a practice in my tenure when people say, oh, apply for a grant. I want to apply for a grant for things that we're already working on. So, again, this was a project, in this case, it's a water tower that was being designed by the Verk and Bartolucci consultants. It's probably going to be, design will be completed in about a year. We previously authorized, didn't borrow the money for it. So it's a great candidate to try to obtain money for in regards to a project. And Ian and I have gone over this. And to me, it's a no-brainer to do this. And there's actually going to be another, we're going to have one more resolution before the deadline, which is at the next council meeting, regarding the SEQA process, State Environmental Quality Review Act. We basically have to, this one mentions SEQA, but in the next one, we're going to have to actually say that we did the paperwork for SEQA. And there's going to be one more resolution before we apply in the next one. Actually, there'll be 2 more, one for each grant, which I'm going to go over next. Any questions?
Okay, any questions from the council? Hearing none. Any from the public? All right. Thank you, and thank you for answering all the questions I was peppering you with today on this.
Yeah, no problem. No, I know it's a little confusing, so I
Yeah.
totally get it, It actually helps me when you ask me the questions. I appreciate it.
Okay, and let's move on to item 13.
Item 13 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to apply for 2 grants from the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation for the construction of the replacement of well 16A.
Again, this is a resolution authorizing the city to apply for and potentially accept the grant under the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation Water Infrastructure Improvement Act for $4 million for the replacement of well number 16A, I should say. Grants under the program, again, they're due November 22nd, 2021. Again, this is a prerequisite to filing the application. H2M is also preparing this. And just so you note as well, H2M is preparing both of these applications, and the fee for them is $3,000, which I thought was extremely reasonable. And that's why we had them prepare the grant. the way they explained it to me, the reason they're able to do it so inexpensively, because they're doing probably about 60 of these for various municipalities throughout Long Island. So they were able to do it at a very reasonable price. So that's the reason we gave it to them. So again, the grant is 60% of the project amount not to exceed $3 million. In this case, the estimated cost of the well is $4 million. We would therefore potentially receive 60% of $4 million, or $2.4 million, leaving the city responsible for $1.6 million. And this will be available as well through funds that was authorized but not borrowed pursuant to Resolution 30-5321 on July 6, 2021, in the amount of $4 million. Thank you. Any questions?
All right. And I guess it's just worth noting, if we get these, that's $5.5 million almost in grant money for infrastructure.
Yeah, it's really a
which
no-brainer.
is-
Again, this
which
is
is
money
great, yeah.
that's been authorized through prior bond resolution, so anything we could get to help mitigate those costs is really a win-win.
Yeah.
And
All
this-
right,
just so you know, there's $400 million available through this program, through the program, yes.
All right, any questions from the council? All right, hearing none, any from the public? All right, thank you, Joe. Let's move on to item 14.
Item 14 is a resolution authorizing the publication for hearing of a local law amending Subpart C of the related acts relating to the charter of the City of Long Beach regarding a local law opting out of licensing and establishing on-site cannabis consumption establishments within the City of Long Beach pursuant to Cannabis Law, Section 131. This item is for publication only. A hearing will be held Wednesday, November 17th at 6:30 p.m. Item 15 is a resolution authorizing publication for hearing of an local law amending Subpart C of related acts related to the Charter of the City of Long Beach regarding a local law opting out of licensing and establishing retail cannabis dispensaries within the City of Long Beach pursuant to Cannabis Law, Section 131. This item is for publication only. A hearing will be held November 17th at 6:30 p.m. On to the voting. Item 3 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement for engineering services in conjunction with the Transit-Oriented Development Project. I want you to move the adoption of this item.
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase vehicles for the city sanitation department through New York State Office of General Services from the lowest responsible bidder. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 5 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase vehicles for the city under an Onondaga County contract. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes, and thank you to Devin and the staff for helping us modernize a very old fleet that is in desperate need of modernization. So yes, thank you.
Item 6 is a resolution authorizing settlement of certiorari proceedings. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 7 is a resolution authorizing transfer of funds for the 2021-22 fiscal year. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 8 is a resolution authorizing budget amendment to the general fund budget. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
I'd just like to thank the John Carbona family again, and I vote yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 9 is a resolution authorizing budget amendment to the general fund budget. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 10 is a resolution authorizing annual allocation of community development funds for the 47th program year. Who will introduce and move the adoption of this item as amended?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Excellent work, Monique. Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 11 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to amend the current agreement for asphalt overlay work at various locations throughout the city on an as-needed basis. To introduce and move the adoption of this item.
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 12 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to apply for a grant from the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation for the construction of a new elevated water storage tank in the city. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 13 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to apply for 2 grants from the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation for the construction of the replacement of well 16A. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
Could we just put in the letter A after number 16? And I vote yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 14 is a resolution authorizing publication for hearing of a local law amending Subpart C of related acts related to the charter of the City of Long Beach regarding local law opting out of licensing and establishing on-site cannabis consumption establishments within the City of Long Beach pursuant to Cannabis Law, Section 131. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
And finally, item 15 is also a resolution authorizing publication for hearing of a local law amending Subpart C of related acts related to the charter of the City of Long Beach regarding a local law opting out of licensing and establishing retail cannabis dispensaries within the City of Long Beach pursuant to Cannabis Law, Section 131. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
City Manager's monthly personnel report has been filed by the City Clerk. Who will make a motion to close the meeting?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Treston.
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes. Okay, good and welfare. Most people, I think, know the drill. So 3 minutes. And first up is Liz Nachman. She left us. All right. Roy Lester.
Like I haven't exercised for a week now. Hello. On the item number 14, I'm a little confused on that. Is that a virtual hearing or not? I'm sorry.
No.
No.
Okay, because it said that the public will be given an opportunity to observe and participate in the virtual meeting by registering for the hearing at Long Beach, New York, of council meeting and further. So what does that mean?
It is noticed for Zoom.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
He said no.
Okay.
Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's right.
Yeah.
It does say that.
Not supposed to say that.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be a virtual
It's
meeting.
not supposed to be a virtual meeting.
Okay. All right, that's why I was confused.
Yeah, me
All right,
too.
and-
Now I am.
And at that point, is the coalition going to be limited to 3 minutes? I mean, are we going to need to bring up a bunch of different people, or can Judy Vining make a presentation?
What we're trying to do now, Mr. Lester, is we're reaching out to different parties, including Ms. Vining, to present,
Oh,
to at least
okay.
give their perspective on it. I have yet to. We're going to coordinate with her starting tomorrow because we just passed this as a publication to see if she's available for that date and see what it is she'd like to actually present. And We'll
Okay.
probably be doing that same process with other people who want to present, like organizations or unions or whatever we can get, basically.
Okay, that'd be good.
Yeah, this meeting here, this is the public hearing that takes place as part of the council meeting. There'll be a separate, like, working session type meeting where we're also going to have discussions on this and get input, because this is something that you're not going to get done in one public hearing.
I know, but we're on a very tight schedule.
We are.
You know that. Okay. That's one. And on the asphalt overlay, could we at some point get listing of what's going to be done or what was done? You know, people are always complaining, and it would be great if they could see, hey, this is what we've done already, or this is going to be done, since we know already. Okay, thanks. All right, thanks. Not for me, but they complain.
Okay, Crystal Lake.
If you don't want to stand up there, you don't have to.
That's okay.
Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations. Congratulations, Mr. Lester. You're welcome. I would just briefly like to go over a few things. Oh. No, I'm not. But anyway, thank you. No, just leave it there. Yes. I would just like to take this opportunity to briefly discuss the potential updates regarding the comprehensive plan. Going back, the documents that I did submit to the council and others, only the first page was new. The latter documents have been submitted repetitively, time after time, after administration after administration. And this is where we are today. So thank you for your replies. However, the City of Long Beach Technical Memorandum issues existing conditions and opportunities dated May 2005. There was one sentence within that entire document that brought me great concern. Roman numeral 6-3. Bayfront redevelopment could create secondary gentrification. At that point, my heart sank. I am a victim of the initial gentrification within the city of Long Beach, New York. I've been here over 60 years. The heart and gut-wrenching pain and sorrow that occurred via urban renewal, slum clearance, community development was pathetic. Yes, there were a few homes that were deplorable on the block, in deplorable condition. However, the majority of the homes were well maintained and very hardworking people within that area. The displacement, I resided at 56 East Harrison Street. I have a copy of a birth certificate indicating my mother and father and their residence being 56 East Harrison Street. I just wanted to say that for the record. So, moving forward, it is important that the future vision is shared so it can accommodate the majority of individuals that live in Long Beach and consider it our home, such as myself. But unfortunately, over time, with the new developments, it did not meet the needs of all the individuals, of all the residents within the city. And I can say that for a fact because North Park is considered Census Tract 4165. I believe it's block 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That was quick. However, census data was not updated for a very long time. So community development funds were utilized throughout the city of Long Beach. And to make this very short, and thank you for the additional few moments, I greatly appreciate that. The preferred developers at that time was Cameron Engineering. And their redevelopment plan was absolutely fabulous. It was. However, it did need some tweaking. So moving forward, I would hope that all present, future councils would take something of this nature into consideration. And, you know, hopefully I won't be displaced again.
Okay, so your time's up, but I think one thing that's worth noting, that's why it's important when the public input sessions are taking place for this plan that people like you who have that history of what worked, what didn't work, in your case, a lot didn't work, so that's taken into account as this plan is being developed. Remember, they're starting from scratch, so they're not going back and they're basically reinventing the wheel in a sense. So that's why people with your perspectives that have seen what has gone on over the years will be important to make sure that those concerns that you have are incorporated into this plan.
If I may reply, and you're absolutely correct, and you know I've done my due diligence.
Absolutely.
Okay, it's all of the research that I have acquired, I have shared over the years, and unfortunately, it did not benefit, you know, the North Park community. I never kept any information to myself. I shared and shared and shared. The redundancy, repetitiveness was ridiculous. And I've participated in New York Community Rising. I was a committee member. I was in contact with the DEC, the federal government. I was on the EAB board. So all of that time, okay, I worked extremely hard, just as many other individuals. So that's why I would just like this on the record. Thank you for your time.
That's fine. And like I said, just we need input from people like you as this plan is being developed, because you have that history that a lot of people don't.
And the supporting documentation.
And the support.
Ms. Lake, thank you for sending the information that you do send. But I can say, as someone that is not as familiar with everything you've been through, I'm having difficulty in understanding what you want me to focus on in the documents that you send me. So maybe some bullet points as to what I should be paying attention to in certain segments or sections or paragraphs, or basically a summary of what you want me to take away from the documents would be extremely instructive. So basically, you know, I appreciate you educating me on the topic.
Okay, that has never been a problem. Over the years, there were that specific information, and it should be in-house somewhere. But moving forward, I would be happy to pinpoint everything.
Yeah, so, you know, I get the documents, and here's the documents, but I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with the documents. Just reading them, or is it?
Well, to have a better understanding, if you review them, if you do take a look at them, you can see the changes within the history of the city of Long Beach. That's one thing.
I would need a primer of basically, here's the situation, here's the history, and on your weekend, I recommend, in this order of priority, the documents that you should be reading to get up to speed on this issue. That would be helpful to me.
Ms. Lake, one of the things I wanted to say is that I will be in contact with you over the next couple of days, so that you and I can meet and sit down and talk about some of the things that you have sent over, and then maybe we can come up with something that we can both give the council so they can read, but I also need your input on a couple of other things. And so I will be in touch with you.
All right, thank you.
I'd like to ask Ms. Lake a question or two. Could you briefly explain what you liked in the Cameron Engineering proposal that you had mentioned?
Well, the amenities were fabulous.
Such as?
They had the amphitheater. They had the...
This was in the, okay. I know.
Yes.
This is the draft comprehensive plan or Bayfront development that was...
Well, there was a presentation by Cameron Engineering. I do have those documents.
I remember the amphitheater, but I mean,
Right.
but as far as...
The problem was that it was targeted. The targeted population would have not have included low to middle income.
Right.
Okay, and what I find also problematic, and it's just my opinion and no one has to agree with me, when you target a population such as individuals will say, students, seniors, but if the project is done properly, it should meet the needs of students, students, individuals, seniors, across the board, and families. A studio could apply to a senior as well as a senior, student or senior. So a lot of those things would have worked well, but depending upon the affordability criteria, that's also a problem.
The other concern I at least I had, not about this particular issue, but I remember, I think in January of my first month in office here, there was a plan that evidently was talked about that you had mentioned you never even heard about.
Okay,
It was supposed to be community outreach and getting things out there for the, to get community feedback.
Oh, well, part of the problem is that a lot of individuals might not have computers. Sometimes they do post the bulletins, and I know for myself, sometimes the bulletins are knee-high. So if you're driving by, you really don't get a glimpse of it. I would suggest that a database be created, which is available already, utilizing the phones, because mostly everyone has a phone. So if there is a meeting or something that's extremely important, you send out.
So what I basically try to ask is, how can we, as the city council, city government, city manager, communicate to get the message for example, there's a meeting coming up, or if you would like to have a meeting to get information for the community on a topic. That's where I'm trying to get at, is the communication.
Okay, so a lot of times the information is posted on Facebook. Sometimes people do not utilize Facebook. So honestly,
right,
it's old school.
Old school, knock.
Well, I can answer that.
Okay.
For the comprehensive plan, part of the plan is to look at different ways to get the word out. That we would have the meetings, and it's not using the same techniques as we are using now. So we could talk to Ms. Lake, but we will be talking to others. So we're not talking about just posting it on Facebook or posting on the website, because not everybody has a computer, not everybody has Facebook. And we are also going to do it by areas within the within Long Beach, so that no one area will be concentrated on. So we are looking at all of that on how to get the word out and how to get the community involved.
Thank you. Ms. Lake and Donna, because I know she knows how to get the message out of this comprehensive plan, the draft update, to get all members of the entire city of Long Beach to weigh in on their needs, and thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Okay, James Hodge.
Mike. Yeah.
James Hodge, 95 East Fulton Street, Long Beach, New York. One thing I would like to say is that Crystal is a true historian and knows a lot of information and have a lot of documents. Some said point to certain things that you may want to see, Vice President. The certain things is that she was kicked out through gentrification. That's the main thing. Certain things is when Warbounds was built, all of those families was gentrified out, kicked out. That's another point. The main points is we're looking to do something in that community, but it's good to be at the table rather than on the menu. It's good to be a part of the plan and not the plan be made without you, because you won't be a part of it or in the plan. We've seen gentrification over and over and over, and we don't want it anymore. And that's the simple thing about the Bayfront and whatever takes place there. Why would we start over from scratch when, John Bendo, you was a part of many of the chart meetings, and we met all over town, walking street to street. We met at the MLK. We met. Yes, we could come up with ideas and edit some things, but the in-depth study that we did, why would we, when we spent thousands and thousands of dollars, throw that out the window? When we had lots of the minority community, yes, people from Nevada to Maple and the Bay to the ocean, but it's going to adversely affect, depending upon how it's done, the people that's right there first. So those should get priority. Yes, the city need more revenue. You know, they got 3 unions, and we understand that percentages and things go up, so you got to find new revenue, because if you raise taxes, you might get kicked out of office. But don't kick those people out of office, because I live in North Park, and I love my North Park. I may not have sand in my shoes, but I got some dirt from the Bay, because that's where I could afford. I couldn't afford the beach back in the day. So I got whoopings for going in the Bay, and said, Mom, I didn't go to the Bay, but she saw the water on the bottom of my pants. I never knew how she knew every day until I started pulling my pants up a little bit so I didn't let her know I was at the Bay. So that's it. Read those documents, and it tells you all of the in-depth studies that we did, and all of the voting that we did, and all of the meetings we did all over Long Beach. Because they wasn't doing them in North Park. They was doing them at Lindell. You remember that. They were doing them all over, and we fought to meet at the center. It's Patty Bourne right there. She got a lot of documentations, right? Patty got all that documentation. We got it. We can just edit a little bit. But Patty, she been doing planning for Nassau County for years. She been doing it. I'm talking about you because you're part of the plan. You know, so I hope that we don't just throw all of that out, because I thought that he just said we only doing a few things to add on to the comprehensive plan. So I finish with this. That's that about that, and Crystal will give you all of that. I finish with this. That I came to speak personally about the community, the city, the police department, the community, the pastors, the organizations coming together to fight against this pandemic of drugs and parents being killed by the sickness that they deal with. It's not necessarily their fault, but it's a risk when you are taking drugs. It hit my family now. Now there's 3 mothers from 2 blocks that are gone, and about 15 kids that are motherless because of maybe some things that they were dealing with their sickness. And I haven't heard an outcry. And so I'm crying out loud now, because while I hug my nephew and my nieces, and their mother just turned 35 Monday, and her birthday was Monday, and I hug them and they crying, saying, "Where's mommy? Mommy coming to blow out the cake?" So I'm here calling and saying it's not the city's fault. It's not the church's fault. It's not even the addict's fault that's dealing with the sickness of drugs. But what can we do together? I don't know if, I heard that we may not just we don't want to arrest our way out, but some people need to go to jail. I will not sit and let the 90s, the late 80s, early 90s of Long Beach come back. I'm on Facebook Live, and it's live here, and I want everybody to know. I've been threatened before because drug dealers will not take over Channel Park Homes. Drug dealers will not take over Long Beach or wherever you are. I'm asking the police department and the churches and the community groups to step up. Mother Williams fought hard to get Channel Park Homes with many others there. And so I finish by saying that I called the task force of Nassau County. I called Long Beach Aware. I will be walking down the streets. Drug dealers will not take over my community. Gun violence will not take over my community. And I'm saying what I'm saying, and the things about the MLK, listen, some people may think it's allowable just because maybe somebody black is not complaining about it. I know we got a black city manager and a former MLK director and community director. They African American. They may got Cherokee somewhere in there. Miss Donna probably got Cherokee. Very beautiful lady. But what I'm saying is, if injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere, and it's not who's presenting it. I don't care that Donna is black. I don't care that I love them, no matter what color they are. But they're put on the front street to present what goes in and out of the center, and this is the worst that I've seen the center treated ever. In my history, the center was built on my yard. That was my yard. I was a kid that played on the hill. So again, I thank you for allowing me to go over this time. But I'm saying, and I want everybody to know, drug dealers will not take over, gun violence will not take over our community. We will stand together, and if those that don't want to listen, we're going to bring people in that want to give jobs out. We're going to bring people in that want to help and rebuild people's lives. But we will not just sit and take this. My nephew died from gun violence, and we're still hearing gunshots and gunshots. And they said that the cameras are not working in Channel Park Homes. Fix the cameras. How long do the cameras take to fix? They said the cameras wasn't working at the center. We put the money in to fix the cameras because it's a pandemic going on, and nobody's crying out. And so now I'm getting ready to leave here. And I'm getting ready to go to my nephew and my nieces. And I'm driving them to school in the morning to talk to their principals about their mother being gone. It's 15 children in about 3 months that don't have a mother. And I'm saying, I don't know what the narcotics squad is doing, the unit, or whatever they're doing. But I'm asking, and everybody, we got to stand up together. We're not going to accept it. If you're shooting in the community, if you're doing drugs, and find another occupation, because I'm not going to stand it. And I've been quiet, and I've been doing other community work, but you know what? You go see me more here because it's a teamwork. We got to do this together. And I'm saying you can't arrest your way out. But we have to find solutions and meet together, and we're going to have a meeting. I'm going to ask the board, can we have a meeting in Long Beach Aware, and Renee Fishner from the district attorney's office. We're going to try to have a meeting in the community in the center. It's not just in North Park, but it's all over the country. But I'm not going to stand it. So thank you for your time. We're going to work together to rid this pandemic. Another young lady from the community is dead. Another young lady. And so again, our condolences go out to my family and all of those families that's dealing with people that have this sickness. Let's try to get them help, and let's give good solutions, not just Narcan. That's not the answer. That's part of it. That can reverse the effects of certain drugs. But let's come together and get more stronger solutions. The city, the government, the churches, the rabbis, everybody, us together on this barrier island. God bless.
Okay, thank you, James, and my condolences on your loss.
Thank you.
And that's it, folks. Thanks for coming, and we will see you next time.